start understanding and working with TypeScript. So dealing and working with the TypeScript. So already we understood the TypeScript architecture. We discussed about that. Now we need to learn TypeScript language basics, right? So first we have to start with TypeScript language basics. So many concepts are there in TypeScript we have to learn. So we will start with the language basics. Let's see. Right. In the TypeScript language basics, we have to discuss about the concepts like variables, data types, operators, statements, and functions. These are the basic things we first discuss in the language basics. After understanding the language basics, we go into object-oriented programming, advanced options in TypeScript, and the detailed concept of TypeScript. Right? We are going to understand about that. Right. So initially, we are going to start learning from the basics of the language. I don't know why you people raise the hand, Khalid and Rohit. So in the language basics, we are going to discuss about all these points. So once we are perfect with the basics, then we can go in detail about them. Let's see. First important, while learning the language, we need to start understanding about variables in TypeScript. So what are the points about variables in TypeScript? So technically, generally in computer programming, variables are storage locations in memory where you can store a value and use it as a part of any expression. That is how technically we define variables. JavaScript, TypeScript, they are similar in certain aspects of programming. So if you know JavaScript, then it is easy. Even if you don't know, because even if you are not aware of JavaScript, still you can understand because we are discussing everything from the basic level here. So variables in computer programming are storage locations in memory where you can store a value and use it as a part of any expression. So values are stored in a named location in the memory. That's what actually variables are. So storage locations in memory. Actually, while dealing with variables, some important points we should know is actually JavaScript deals with variables in a different manner when it is in strict mode and not in strict mode. I will show you that actually. Generally, variables have three configuration states. Generally, variables have three configuration states. Actually, variables have three configuration states. So one is declaration. Second one is initialization, and third one is rendering or assignment. Rendering or assignment. While working with variables, we have to understand about three states of variable configurations. Variables have declaration, variables have initialization, variables have rendering and assignment. Rendering and assignment. We should know perfectly the difference between them, because when you know the difference between them, then you can understand how to handle variables in TypeScript. How to handle variables in TypeScript. Usually variables have three configuration states. What are these three configuration states? Let's see that. So generally variable have a declaration, initialization, and rendering. Rendering, or we call it as assignment. The point is actually, suppose how to declare variables, what are the keywords, all those we will learn later. Just concentrate on only this current point. For example, so I have here var x, and I have var x equal to 10. And suppose I am having one more option. So that means I have one more option, that is suppose we are having, so var we are having x equal to 10, like this. Actually, these are the three configuration states of a variable. Actually, the first one is called declaration. Declaration. The first one is called declaration. Declaring a variable. Second one is x equal to 10 is assignment. Assignment. Assignment, or you can say render. Rendering. Rendering a value into it. But remember, it is not initialization. Many people have a wrong point about this part. Generally, at learning level, when we ask people what is this, they say that initialize it to 10. X is initialized to 10. No, this is not initialized. This is called rendering or assignment, not initialization. Initialization is the last one. This is initialization. Initialization. This is initialization. Initialization is nothing but at the time of declaring a variable, you assign a value into that variable, is called initialization. That means if you are assigning a value at the time of declaration, that is called initialization. You should be careful in these three states of variable, because next point is related to them. So you should be very clear in understanding what is declaration, what is assignment, and what is initialization. You need to know about these 3 points. So declaration and assignment and initialization. I will show you step by step so that you can clearly understand. That means Every variable configuration comprises of three stages actually. So declaration, that means some var x, this is declaration. X equal to 10, sorry. So second one is rendering. Second one is rendering or assignment. Here x equal to 10. And third one is initialization, where while declaring you are assigning value into it. That is initialization. So variable have three configuration states: declaration, assignment or rendering, and initialization. Actually, JavaScript can handle variables without declaration and initialization, can handle variables without declaration and initialization when it is not in strict mode. JavaScript can handle variables without declaration and initialization when it is not in strict mode. That means generally people who know about JavaScript. So let's open our project. I am opening Visual Studio Code, and in the Visual Studio Code I am opening our project. Our project is TypeScript online project, and in the project TypeScript language, in that I will create a simple JavaScript file, or generally first I will show you what JavaScript can do. So here I am writing a script. So we have a function, and don't worry about the coding, you just concentrate on the point. So here x is equal to 10, and document.write I am printing x is equal to plus x. Here observe carefully, x is not declared and x is not initialized. So no declaration, no initialization. X is just rendered with a value. And you can see we are trying to use it. And obviously it is allowed. It will work. You can see the output x equal to 10. It is working. So in JavaScript, it can handle variables without declaration and initialization when it is not in strict mode. If JavaScript is in strict mode, then it is mandatory to declare or initialize variable. So if JavaScript is in strict mode, then it is mandatory to declare or initialize variable. You can see currently JavaScript is not in strict mode. You can turn on strict mode. Generally, if you know JavaScript, strict mode restricts the developers to write the code in a certain standards. So here we use strict. That means now JavaScript strict mode is on. Then it will not allow the developers to violate the standards of coding. According to the standards of coding, variable must be declared or initialized before you are using it actually. But when I refresh this, you can see now it is having problem. I will press F12 in the debugger. You can see it says X is not defined. That means it's not declared. You have to declare or initialize. If JavaScript is in strict mode, it is mandatory to declare or initialize variable. Declare or initialize variable. That is the basic thing you need to know. That means I have to declare or initialize variable. Declare means var x, it is declared, and you can see it is working fine. You can see it is working fine. But that is in whether it is in strict mode or not actually, whether it is in strict mode or not. So if JavaScript is in strict mode, then it is mandatory to declare or initialize variable. Why we are talking about JavaScript in TypeScript? Because TypeScript is superset of JavaScript, and important is TypeScript. TypeScript is in a strict mode, by default. In JavaScript, we have to turn on the strict mode, but in TypeScript, it is by default in strict mode. That means TypeScript is in strict mode by default. What does that mean? It means that hence declaring or initialization, declaring or initialization of variables is mandatory. Now, if anyone asks the question, is declaring initialization of variables mandatory in JavaScript? Then two answers will be there. It depends on strict mode. If strict mode is on, then it is mandatory. If strict mode is not on, it is not mandatory. You can directly render a value into variable, you can use it. That is what actually the point. Why we discussed about them? Because TypeScript is by default in strict mode. It means that in TypeScript, it's mandatory that you have to declare or initialize the variables. So declaration of variables or initialization of variables is mandatory in TypeScript. It is mandatory in TypeScript. We have to know about that, right? Right. I think Ankit, you are just attending today. We already discussed problems in JavaScript and TypeScript. So let's talk about your doubts towards the end if you were not there in that session, right? So here the point is TypeScript is by default in strict mode. When TypeScript is by default in strict mode, that means it's mandatory to initialize or declare variables. Variables can be declared or initialized by using following keywords. Number one, you can use var. Number two, you can use let. Number three, you can use const. So variables can be declared by using var, let, and const. Now the point is, what is difference between them? What is var, what is let, and const? And we need to use as per the situation and the requirement. There is nothing like which one is best. It is depending on that requirement. So variables are declared or initialized by using these three keywords: var, let, and const. What are these three? Let's see those points first. First point, what is var? So actually, you need to know that var is used to define a function scope variable. Var is used to define a function scope variable. What does that means? I will show you. Var is used to define a function scope variable. That means you can declare or initialize in any block. You can declare or initialize in any block of a function and access from another block within the same function. You can declare or initialize in any block of a function and access from another block within the same function. That is actually the concept of var. I will tell you detailedly, we will see that. See, let's create a TypeScript file now. Let's create a TypeScript file. Let's start with a TypeScript file. We will see a TypeScript file. So the point is, first let's add a TypeScript file. So let's go here, a new file in TypeScript, new file. I will better maintain a new folder in the language itself or separately, a new folder. I will put variables. Okay. In that, I'm adding a new file, demo.ts, a TypeScript file. Here, initially, I'm writing a function, f1, and we are calling the function f1. Here, we are declaring. So var x is equal to 10. This is initializing. We are initializing x equal to 10. Okay. After that, I am writing a condition. If x equal to 10, then var y is equal to 20, or var y and y is equal to 20. Here I am doing two things. So first is initializing x. Second, declaring y and assigning value into y. We are declaring and assigning value into y. Right. Now remember, y is declared inside if block. It is declared inside if block. It is in a block, but that block is present in the same function, f1 function. I am accessing here console.log. I'm accessing here x is equal to x and y is equal to y. So this is a general JavaScript expression, JavaScript string expression to print the value of x and y. In JavaScript, backticks are used to write a string with expression. Expressions are written in $flower brace. If you don't know, then wait until the string concept comes. You will understand. But that is general JavaScript actually. So here the point is, we are trying to access y outside the block and we are using it. That means it is declared inside this block and we are accessing outside the block. Is it possible to do so? So that's what possible with var. So var you can declare or initialize in any block of a function and access from another block within the same function. That is allowed. Remember, where allows, where allows, where allows, declaration, declaration, where allows, rendering, and where allows, initialization. All the three things can be done by using where. It allows declaration, it allows rendering, it allows initialization. It will allow all the three things. You can see here with where I am doing all the three things. Here it is initialized x equal to 10, where y it is declared, y equal to 20 it is assigned. Now I will compile and run this. So we will just compile and run this. So already I told you how to compile. We will go into our variables in the terminal and we use tsc and demo.ts. We are transcompiling this demo.ts and hit enter. It generates a JavaScript file. tsc demo.ts, it generates a JavaScript file. Run the JavaScript file. So node demo.js. How to run JavaScript files yesterday I told you. And hit enter. It is printing x and y. X is equal to 10 and y is equal to 20. So it is working fine. That means y is allowed outside the block because it is declared by using where, and where allows all the three things: declaration, rendering, and initialization. So important here is, so this is a simple syntax how it actually defines, right? Remember, don't concentrate on my code like what is function sir, so what is this backtick sir, what is this dollar sir, so that you forget about that you will learn later. Just concentrate on only what is the purpose of where, the concept. Later you are going to learn all this. So here x is initialized, y is declared, and y equal to 20 assigned or rendered with a value. And very important is y is accessible outside the block. That means here in this case y is valid. So as it is declared as function scope, with var. As it is declared as function scope with var, that means it is valid. You can access it and you can use it. That is the point about where it allows all the three things. One more extra point here is where allows shadowing. Where allows shadowing. Actually, shadowing is the process of redeclaring or initializing the same name identifier within the scope. Shadowing is the process of redeclaring or initializing the same name identifier within the scope is called shadowing. Where allows shadowing, what does that means? For example, see, observe here. So for our understanding sake, what I am doing is I am opening in a command prompt, and from there I am compiling. You do from terminal just for visual, because I want to show you the output in a separate screen. That's the reason. You do in terminal here demo.js node demo.js. The output is coming here. It is working fine. Now see what I'm doing here. So in this, you don't need to use command prompt. You can use terminal. I'm just showing you in the command prompt how to handle. Here, the point is in the declaration part, observe carefully. Where is declared, y is declared, and it is assigned with 20. In the same scope, I am declaring again where y. And here again y is equal to 30. Now, is it valid? Actually, it is valid. That is what actual shadowing means. Shadowing means you are declaring the same name variable again. Remember, suppose if I write y equal to 30, that is not shadowing, because that is again assigning a new value, not shadowing. Shadowing means redefine again. That means again where y equal to 30, like this. So where y equal to 30, we are declaring again. So we are declaring again y, and y is equal to 30. I am defining it again. That means declaring same name identifier within the scope again. Is it valid? Yes, it is valid. It is valid. Remember, not only declaring, even initialization also. For example, suppose I written like this, where y is equal to 20. It is initialization. After that, where y again is equal to suppose 30. It is valid. It is valid. That is what shadowing means. Shadowing means you are redefining or redeclaring the variable again. I will save this now. Which one it will take? It will take obviously the last one. That means now you can see when I compile and run this. So when I compile and run this, to compile again tsc demo.ts, because whenever you make changes in the code, again compile, then run node demo.js, then you can see y is 30. That means it is allowing shadowing. So technically, what is shadowing? So shadowing is nothing but the process of redefining or initializing the same name identifier within the scope. So this is an example of shadowing. Here you can see, so why shadowing, right? That is what actually the concept of shadowing, right? Now the point here is you can redefine, redeclare. That is the concept of shadowing. So where allows shadowing, that's good. Where allows declaration, rendering, initialization, that's also good. We proved that, and we proved this also. Another important, where allows hoisting. Actually, hoisting is the process of using a variable in code before the declaration or initialization. Hoisting is the process of using a variable in code before declaration or initialization. declaration or initialization. Actually, this is not supported in many programming languages, but it is supported in TypeScript, so or JavaScript. They support hoisting mechanism. But remember, hoisting is supported only when it is declared with var. Only when it is declared with var. That is important about var. What is hoisting? I will show you. The point is, for example, suppose here I am writing like this: x equal to 10 and console.log. So here x is equal to, so I'm just using x is equal to whatever present in x. But important, x is not declared, so it's mandatory to declare. And see, I'm declaring at the bottom x, it is valid. But remember, you are using x and assigning value 10. You are printing. After that, you are declaring. TypeScript compilers, JavaScript interpreters, they doesn't care about this order. Wherever the declaration part is there, they will first go there. They will execute that. Then they will go with assigning and rendering. That's the reason where you declare, it doesn't matter, especially when you are using var. With var, it is possible. var supports hoisting also. Now I will save this and I will run this again and see. Compile and run this again. And you can see it is working fine. X equal to 10, working fine. So it is working fine. That means it is supporting the hoisting mechanism. So that means when you are specially using var, you don't need to worry where you declared it. You can declare at any place. It will take care about that. First, it will take the declaration part, then it will go with to others. That's what actually the concept of var. So var has so many points to understand, right? Now, once you understood this, so hoisting is this, and syntax for hoisting is this is the syntax for hoisting. This is the syntax for hoisting. That means here x is hoisted. X is hoisted. That is the concept of hoisting. The concept of hoisting. Fine. That is what all you need to know about var. So many doubts will come. Keep all doubts with you only, because those are the points that we are going to discuss. So no need to hurry. I see that many people are pinging messages immediately because their genius brains will get so many doubts immediately. Keep your doubts with you. I will address all those issues. Without that, we can't move forward now. So you keep your doubts. No hurry in asking a question until or unless I finish the concept. By the time I finish the concept, you will understand everything. So doubts will not be there. So no hurry. Just wait for the concept to be discussed. Then you will get clarity on everything. Okay? Right. Next point is, what is LET? Actually, LET is used. So LET, it is used to define a block scope variable. Block scope variable. Block scope variable. That means if a variable is declared or initialized inside a block, it is accessible only within the block. So that is important. So many points are there, we will see that. So it is block scope variable. So you can access only within the block where it is declared. And important, LET allows declaring, allows rendering, and it allows initialization. That means all you can do, declaring, rendering, initialization, everything you can do. But important, LET will not allow shadowing. It will not allow shadowing. LET will not allow hoisting. Hoisting. Those are the restrictions of LET. LET will not allow shadowing, and LET will not allow hoisting. Will not allow hoisting. Right? These are the two important things which are different from var, and block scope also important. For example, let's go into the previous concept here. See here, so initialization, declaration, rendering, here I will copy that. So it is supporting all this: initialization, initialized, declared, assigned and rendered, everything. So I will add all these options here. Same program, that's the reason. And you can see here, so x equal to 10. If x equal to 10, now here I will declare this y with LET. Now if I declared anything with LET, it is not accessible outside this block. Outside this block. You see here, immediately there is an error at y. It says that cannot find y, because it is accessible only inside this block. That means you cannot access outside. That is why it is called block scope. Remember that block can be any block. Any block means, for example, if I say LETX, is it valid? Yes, it is valid, because is x is accessible? Yes, accessible. Why? Because what is the scope of x now? X is declared with LET in function scope. Don't think that it is function scope. It is function block actually. This is the function block. That means inside the function block, it is accessible. Now, important, y is not accessible because it is in if block. I will go here and I will keep here. Now you can see here x is accessible, because x is not present inside this block, but it is present in its outer block. If you declared anything in outer block, it is accessible to inner block also. If you declared anything in outer block, it is accessible to inner block, even you defined by using LET. That is important. Outer block, inner block, two scopes are there, because higher scope is what? Outer block, and lower scope is what? Inner block. If you directly declared in inner block, it is not accessible outer block. That is what the point. That means if I get it outside here and keep it here. Now y is not accessible here. Y is not accessible here. So you can see when I run this, you can see when I run this, when I compile and run this, you can see cannot find y, because it is accessible only within that block, not outside the block. So you have to use only inside that block. Inside the block, I will compile that again. I will compile it and I will run it. And you can see it is working fine now. X equal to 10, y equal to 20. So that means it is allowing inside the block only, not outside the block. Inner blocks, outer blocks, inside function, another function, those all you will learn later. So many scenarios are there. But primary point, that is what we need to understand here. Later we will go in detail about inner function, outer function and all this, right? As of now, one point is that LET allows declaration, LET allows rendering, LET allows initialization. Initialization means you can directly define LET y is equal to some 30. It will allow. Initialization is allowed, declaration is allowed, rendering also allowed. It allows all the techniques. So that means it will allow all the techniques. Only the point is it will not allow shadowing. Let's try that. I will declare again LET y is equal to 40. Now it is not available. See, it says that. So why it says that cannot, you can see it shows an error, cannot redeclare block scope variable. But important, if it is by using var, there is no problem, var will allow. But let will not allow. Let will not allow. Let will not allow shadowing. So that is the problem. Let will not allow shadowing. That already we know what is shadowing, and we should know that let will not allow shadowing. Let will not allow hoisting also. For example, what is hoisting? I give an example, right? See, I'm declaring, so here x is equal to 10 or 20. Okay, and console.log, and x is equal to x, and let x, I'm doing like this. It's not allowed. You can see even I declared let. By using let I declared, even I declared, still x is not there. It says that block scope variable x is used before its declaration. Remember, that will not be a problem. If it is var, no problem, it will work. But if it is let, it will not allow. Let will not allow. It's mandatory that first you have to declare and then use it. That is mandatory, right? That means shadowing and hoisting are not supported for let. Shadowing and hoisting are not supported for let. So that means syntax will be, if it is this one, so this is invalid. You cannot do this. This is invalid. You cannot do this. It is not supported. So that means block scope variable cannot be hoisted. But function scope can be hoisted. That's what actually difference between var and let. So what is var? What is let? And what about const? It is also block scope. It is also block scope like let. Okay, good. Then we know its restriction. Important, it allows only initialization. It will not allow declaration. It will not allow declaration and rendering. It will allow only initialization. Const is also block scope. It will allow only initialization. For example, I say const x and x equal to 10. It is invalid. You are declaring and rendering, and you can see that it says that const. So that means it is say that const declarations must be initialized. Have you understood that sentence? Const declarations must be initialized. Now I hope you are clear with what is difference between initialization and assigning. Many people call this second x equal to 10 as initialization, sir. But it is not initialization. Initialization means at the time of declaration, you have to assign value. That means it is not supported. You have to use only x equal to 10. That's it. After that, I am using x equal to 20. It's not allowed. It's not allowed because it will not allow assigning, because it is a constant. It will allow only initialization. That is what the point you need to know about it. It allow only initialization. It will not allow declaration and rendering. And very important is, it will not allow, obviously, shadowing. And it will not allow, so obviously hoisting. These are all the restrictions about const. So const can be used only through initialization. That is the reason a developer should understand the situation, when to use const, when to use let, when to use var, that you will understand later in points we will discuss about them. But you should know that variables are declared. You can see I'm trying to redefine again const x equal to 20. It's not valid because it says that is declared, but now, and you can see cannot redeclare block scope variable x. So it can allow only one initialization. It will not allow anything else. That means you say console.log and here x is equal to, so $x here we are trying to print that, and it will allow, it will just allow only initialization, and you can initialize and you can use that. You can initialize and you can use that. That is what actually the concept of initialization. So that is why you have to know the difference between declaration, assignment, and initialization. If you think it in a wrong way, then you will be misguided in understanding var, let, and const. That's the reason we need to first discuss this configuration. And I hope everyone understood difference between var, let, and const to declare variables. Now, some more restrictions are there for variables. While declaring variables, some more points are there to understand. Those we will see in our next session, right? Tomorrow, we will continue with that. In tomorrow's session, we will continue with variables and other concepts. Okay, thank you.